So, for those of you all who don't know, Shibumi Desai is currently working as a copywriter at Ogilvy. I think the kind of experiences you have and your journey will definitely inspire a lot of students in moving into that respective field. So, I think we can begin with the session. Before that, can you tell us a little about yourself, Shibumi?
Okay, so uh, I didn't, I'll say this straight at the beginning, didn't start out by knowing that I wanted to be a copywriter. It happened sometime during my college years where I still wasn't 100% sure about wanting to be a copywriter. It was a bit of a tussle between whether I wanted to be a copywriter or whether I wanted to pursue psychology and counseling and go in that direction, or special ed also was something I was considering, and which is why I didn't go in for BMM after the 12th or anything. I did psychology because I remember I did do this one internship after the 12th itself, where I was told that if you want to be a copywriter, BMM isn't the most necessary thing in the world. And most of the people at the agency I was working at, Ogilvy, were fairly, okay with people not being from BMM, and they had some very fair points to make about the whole BMM course. BMM is Bachelor of Mass Media for those people who aren't from Bombay. A lot of people may do BA Mass Media, it's kind of the equivalent of that. And it's a course where, at the time I was studying, there are 36 subjects, which is why what a lot of people from my agency, Ogilvy, felt was that it's better to do a master's or something like that later on, but at least for your college years, specialize in one thing. That helps more. Therefore, I did do my graduation in psychology. I took a full psychology major, but I did finally end up pursuing copywriting because I felt it had a lot more creative scope. It's not that I didn't like psychology. Psychology to this day remains a big, big passion of mine.
That's lovely. That's amazing to hear that you were able to still find something that you really enjoy doing. So
Yeah.
you're currently working as a copywriter at Ogilvy. So can you tell us what are the roles and responsibilities at this organization?
Basically, the roles and responsibilities. The thing with being a copywriter is that, irrespective of your designation, you need to do all the given jobs, whether it's working on a film brief or working on an emailer brief, or even if it's working on a post brief. You can be much more senior. You can even be a creative director and probably still be doing it. This also, of course, depends on each agency and what their idea of hierarchies and all of that are. But you basically need to do every given brief that's given to you. Maybe sometimes you'll have people with whom you're working on it together, but sometimes you'll be working on it by yourself also. It's basically the ideation behind the advertising you see, the written verbal aspect of the ads you see, things like that.
Okay, all right. That sounds very interesting. So before this, I think you also worked and interned at a couple of other organizations. Can you tell us about your journey and how did this pave into the path that you've currently moved into today?
Okay. My non-advertising internships and work experience. Sorry, is there a bit of an echo?
No, we can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me? Okay, great. Basically, in terms of the non-advertising work experience I've had, I've worked at two places. One was at this place called Ummeed Child Development Center. Ummeed Child Development Center basically is a place dealing with kids who have developmental delays and disorders, but they also had a mental health team with which I interned, because at Ummeed they have a very family centric approach to therapy and everything. They believe in not just looking at the one kid who comes to them, but also in terms of the entire family, how to bring them in. Because for a lot of these things, therapy needs to be done every single day in the house. It's not just the session you go for and things like that. And of course, given the way our Indian society is, we're very collectivistic. Our families do matter a lot to us. We don't work on an individualistic basis. Therefore, for them, it's very important that they rope in the rest of the family also. That they look at the siblings also, the parents also, even the grandparents if they're interested in being a part of it. And they also have a health center for those who may not have developmental delays but may need help otherwise. That was an internship basically that I did. I also worked for an entire year as a volunteer and as what is called a day coordinator at an NGO by the name of Samaritans. Samaritans is largely known as this suicide prevention helpline, but it's not only for those who are suicidal, it's for people who may be experiencing any kind of emotional distress. They can call up and talk to us, or if they'd rather, they can come in and meet us. Because initially, when it started, it was a place where people came to the center and spoke to the volunteers and things like that. Then, with the advent of phones and things like that. It changed to becoming a phone helpline and things like that. Uh, they even have this thing called email befriending where things are done over email and things. Of course, right now, given the current situation, no one can go into the center, but you can still, of course, call up and things like that.
That's
Uh,
really nice.
and of course, the other internships I had were all advertising internships. Many of them were at Ogilvy, but it didn't really feel like I was going to the same agency again and again because the range of brands that I worked on was very vast and varied. I started out by doing things that were largely proactive. Then the second time round I interned, I did only digital work because at that time Ogilvy had this digital arm called Ogilvy One, which was separate. Now it's all part of the same agency.
Okay.
Brands I worked on there were very different. I worked on Vodafone Business Solutions, which isn't our regular Vodafone as we see it. And I also worked on Reliance General Insurance. That was a big, big learning for me because, I mean, it seems like a very boring thing to work on general insurance, but there were many ways to still make a brand like that fun for the digital medium and things like that. And then my last internship with Ogilvy was for two brands, JSW Steel and Cement, and the other one was Asian Paints, where it was a very good mix of business to business and business to consumer advertising that happened because they do have to reach out to their dealers and things like that, and also a very good mix of Hindi and English copywriting. A combination of both were what I was doing there. I also interned for a very short while at an ad agency by the name of Lintas, but that was only a couple of weeks, after which I got a job at Ogilvy, which is why I obviously moved. After I graduated, I'd rather do a job than another internship.
Right. Right. And that's a very interesting journey because I like that, although you had done psychology, you still made a switch and, took the decision that, okay, I enjoy doing something in the creative space and I would like to, take this further. So a lot of our students, some are from the tech background or from, the creative background who want to, move into a different field. Do you have any tips or suggestions because you have also, shifted to a different field on, how they can, probably do a diploma or, probably just get projects or internships in the respective field? What would be your suggestions for them?
My main suggestion would be doing internships because the closest you get to knowing what a job is like is doing an internship. It's not exactly the same, I'll say that, but the closest you can get is doing an internship. The diploma courses very often may be a bit too expensive for everyone, maybe not for some people, because I remember in my XIC course, we had quite a few people who dropped out also because they were finding it too stressful or they felt it wasn't for them or whatever reason. Um, yeah, I think that would mostly help because basically when you're listening to somebody talk during an interview and stuff like that, you may not get an understanding of what a day in the life would be like. If
Very
there's
true.
someone very senior, they're going to talk more about the work they've done and things like that, which is also very helpful if you're someone interested in the field, or any field, I would say.
Definitely, definitely. Makes a lot of sense. Like probably do internships so you get a better understanding about the job roles. Lovely. So at Ogilvy, I think you'll work on a lot of campaigns. So can you tell us about any campaign that the team has come up with, and how was the experience? Like how does it work from ideation to the whole execution part? If you can just run us through that.
Basically, I think I'll talk about one campaign that was very, very special to me because it was the first campaign that I worked on after I joined Ogilvy as a proper employee. It was for Cadbury Dairy Milk Crispello. And initially, it was a new launch and things like that. And I came in halfway through in the middle of the whole thing. There was work that had been done, but there was some that was still left and stuff. And we had to think of stuff that could be done digitally. It's something called thinking platform out, where you have your platform, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, and you think of things that work for that particular platform. A lot of people, of course, in the creative field will tell you the idea comes first, the medium comes second, but sometimes people from the client side do ask for specific things. They specifically say they want things on Facebook, they want things on Instagram, they want GDN banners, Google Display Network banners, things like that. Basically, we had to think of platform out ideas and stuff, and because it was a new launch, of course people want to know more about the product and what the product is. And we
Yeah.
did this small little thing called Fingers as Friends, where we used the four fingers of the Crispello chocolate bar, and we had different situations of those fingers being friends and having fun together and things like that. And I remember that was a lot of fun because, I mean, someone came up with that idea from the team, and then all of us sat and thought of different situations and how we could use those little fingers, and how some situations we couldn't do because you can't really bend the finger or pretend that the finger has hands and legs and things like that. But some you can do, and they look even funnier and sweeter and things like that if you show fingers instead of just showing human beings and things. Of course, now Crispello has a different kind of communication, but that was the first thing I worked on when I joined as an employee. That's why it'll always be very special to me.
That's really lovely to hear. I mean, like obviously the kind of campaigns, the kind of ideation it takes, like how to strategize for it. Also, works well with the team. So, can you tell us how important is it to work in a team while working in a creative agency?
Oh, it's extremely important. I mean, I don't know anyone who's really, except for one person who's extremely senior. I don't know of anyone who's really working without a team if they're working in an agency. If you're a freelance professional, of course, it's different. But even if I start from working with my art partner, both of us are a team first in
Right.
itself, my art partner and I, because all those softwares like Photoshop and Illustrator and things like that, they are the ones who basically know. They're the ones who've been to design school and learn how exactly to use those things perfectly, if something is viable or not viable and things like that. But of course, yes, the rest of it, of course, it'll vary depending on which agency you're in and how your agency chooses to work. But sometimes there are very big briefs which not just one or two people can handle. You need more than one person to handle it. You need a big mix of ideas. Sometimes during the brainstorming session and discussion from somebody else's idea, I may get an idea. Or if I find that there's something small not working or something that the brand wouldn't allow in somebody else's idea, I may come up with a small solution for it and things like that. It's only when we work together that we manage to come up with that wonderful big campaign that everyone sees or maybe just gives a glance to. But it needs to come out really well, and that doesn't happen without a big team effort. And of course, it's not just the creative team, it's also the strategy team, the planning team, the account management team, and things like there are things which they do, talking to the client, dealing with the client directly, things like strategizing and things like that which come first. When we're pitching for new business, in fact, it's not really the creative team talking to the client at first. It's
Yeah.
basically the account management and the account planning team who talk, who understand what exactly they want, whether they want to drive sales or they just want to drive more traffic, more viewership to their website and things like that.
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing that because I think, when students they are in college, they don't really know what are the kind of jobs that are there out there. We only hear of certain job roles, and when you're actually in the industry, that's when you're like, okay, there's this kind of job role as well. So there's so many other things like account management, you spoke about Illustrator, working in an ad agency. That's absolutely amazing. Coming to the aspect of,
Sorry to interrupt you, but just since we're on this point, there are also certain ad agencies which have their own media planning team where they deal with
okay,
the allocation of funds and how much to do on which medium for each brand, which is also a very important thing. Like, I can't have a premium brand like Cadbury Dark Milk and not give them the kind of communication that's needed. If it's Cadbury Dark Milk, I need to have my communication in English since it's a premium brand. I need to show it on a channel like say Star World. I need to have my digital stuff in place. It's not a massy brand as such.
definitely,
Basically, all
definitely.
these things also matter. Of course, as a copywriter also, I need to have that little basic knowledge, but the intricacies of exactly how to allocate funds and how much to spend where and things like that, the media planning team will basically do.
Exactly. All right. So coming to the aspect of like, do you have any pro tips on coming up with a creative copy for a campaign?
The first thing I would say is, of course, it's a given that you need to do what the client needs, what's on brand, what the brand basically stands for, and things like that. Like Cadbury, in a big way, stands for generosity and things like that. I can't have something snarky or mean or something like that if I'm doing something for Cadbury Dairy Milk.
Yeah,
Has to have that sense of warmth that I'm sure everyone knows Cadbury has. Cadbury Dairy Milk, I'm mentioning it because it's a brand I'm sure everyone's seen the advertising of. But other than that, I would say when you're writing copy, don't say what everyone else is saying. Then it's just the same old boring line which anyone can write. Um, it also matters that one second, just one second. I think I'm having a bit of an echo issue. Yeah, is it clearer now? Or is
yes,
there
yes.
still an echo? Yeah. So basically, I would also say that, of course, this sounds like something very basic, but check again and again and again that the grammar and punctuation is correct. We don't realize it, but sometimes in the course of typing, we make mistakes. That really, really matters. It can be a big eyesore when it goes out publicly for people to see. On digital, I still may have a little liberty to change things if it's in the caption, but if it's on
Yeah.
the creative I've already made, and there's an error, I can't pull that down as easily. Again, another thing which may seem very basic, but sometimes with autocorrect, the word aap, AAP, which we use very often while talking in Hindi, becomes app. Check that. Autocorrect is not always your best friend when you're dealing with more than one language. I would also say it's important to have a way with words. Each line should say something, mean something, have a touch of a little humor. If the campaign's supposed to be serious, of course not. But have some value in each line. Use puns if that's what you need. I know a lot of people may say punning is for the lazy writers, but I think sometimes puns can just give you really nice lines. Use those. But yeah, don't say what everyone else is saying. I think that's the most important part. And also try to land the message clearly. Don't try to be unique to the extent that you deviate from the main message that needs to be given.
Definitely, definitely. So, staying on the same lines of, can you tell us a couple of skills that are required by somebody who's interested in becoming a copywriter?
The most important skill is observation. Unless you're out there observing things and stuff like that, you will never be able to write what people can relate with. That's very important. Another thing that is important is reading, because the more you read, the more you have a way with words. And reading, and I think another thing that would go complementarily to reading would be having experiences. Because you write and you think of ideas only basis what experiences you have. You can't really write unless you're sitting dead behind one laptop and just looking at things and looking at what everyone else is doing and things like that. Reading
Yeah.
also helps because you may not realize it directly, but the ideas do come from there. And of course, this won't exactly be a skill, but I would say it's a requirement. You really need to love to write because you're going to go in every single day and everything needs to be written down. Even if I have an idea that's not really a print ad or a digital ad or a film that I see on television, a television commercial per se, but it's another idea like something that I would do as an activation and stuff. I still need to have it written down for me to be able to present it on what we call boards or what most people would know as the presentation to the client. And it has to be written in such a way that it explains things step by step and clearly, but in a way that the idea sounds good. Because one of the most important things that I've heard as an advertising professional is something said by the great Mr. Piyush Pandey, which is that before you convince an entire country of people, which is what advertising is, start by convincing one person. That may be your boss, and it then also becomes your client. Unless they're on board, the idea is not going to go out the door because they're the ones putting the money behind it, funding it, things like that.
Makes sense. I really like that. Before convincing everyone else, convince one person. It's a good
Yeah.
start to, getting forward. Coming to the aspect of like a portfolio. Now, when students are applying for like internships or jobs, they want to be working on a good portfolio to be presenting. So, can you tell us like what is important in to be putting on your portfolio that recruiters are interested in looking at to recruit you?
Okay, I'll start by saying one thing. It's not as scary as many people make it seem. When you're a beginner, people aren't really expecting you to have an entire campaign to your name and things like that. Therefore, it would help if you have certain pieces which are advertising related, and if you have a couple of other pieces which maybe say a well written piece like a poem or something like that, or an article or anything of that kind, that would also really help as part of your portfolio. Like my portfolio had things that weren't really pure advertising stuff. There were poems and things like that also as a part of them. Also, in terms of the portfolio you repair, a lot of people want you to give it on a website. But many people are also fine by it if you give it on a PPT. Don't put it on a Word doc. That really isn't well presented. And in advertising, how things look matters. Can't be bad looking. It has to be nicely presented, look good, have a little introduction as to why you have what idea you have, things like that. For me, fortunately, because I went to XIC, a lot of my assignments were such that I could have pieces which I could put on a portfolio. But also, one golden rule to remember is that even if the project went a certain way later, when you're creating your portfolio, you can make tweaks of your own. It's your own portfolio at the end of the day. And just that it would help if when you're presenting your portfolio, even if you've done something for a brand, even though you're not really formally associated with it, mention it to the person who's interviewing you that this was proactively done. This was not done for any specific brand as part of a campaign and things like that, because otherwise you may get into a few legal hassles and things like that.
Okay.
But your portfolio, it can't just be words on a blank sheet of paper or something like that. It needs to be well put together, things like that. A layout matters as far as possible. I didn't know how to use Photoshop and Illustrator that well, which is why I used PPT for some things and made very basic layouts, but they were still layouts all the same. And of course, your portfolio has to be dynamic. It can't be the same old thing for years, year after year after year. I mean, I can't present the same portfolio I presented when I got my job in 2018. It has to have different things now from the work I've done for over the past few years.
Makes sense. I keep updating it from time to time.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
in college or in school, when these students are currently like trying to work on, would you specifically mention any projects that they can work on? Like, because they obviously can't work with brands right now. Maybe with their own teams or probably offer startups that they could help out. So, you would suggest something like that for them to build on projects?
What would help would be during the course of your internships, you will be given work to do, obviously. Now, even if that isn't released, you can still put it on your portfolio. Therefore, I would suggest that. Um, for me, one of the pieces that I managed to put on my portfolio was something that I did for an essay writing competition when I was in college, which won the first prize. I was able to put that in and things like that. Now, a couple of years down the line, as an advertising professional, I may or may not be able to include that. But at least as a beginner, you can definitely do those things because all these things show your writing abilities.
Right.
Writer is always a writer. That's why a lot of people from advertising also manage to switch to content writing, journalism, things like that. There are people who switch from journalism to advertising because,
Yeah.
again, I mean, the skills of a writer always come in handy no matter what you're doing.
Makes sense, definitely. So you did your PG diploma from Xavier's in advertising and marketing communications. Can you tell us how did this help you, increase your skills? And would you recommend any other colleges that students who are interested can apply to?
The postgrad from Xavier's did greatly help me. My basic aim from the whole course was to get out was learning the business side of things also, which is something I didn't get because I didn't do mass media previously. And I really wanted to understand that aspect because, again, like I said, the client will not put money behind your work unless they can see something in it for them. And I don't think that's wrong because I mean, there's a lot riding on it, much as people may not think that way. There is a hell of a lot riding on it. Xavier's also helped me in the sense that I realized how interdisciplinary things have become now. Whether it's a field like PR or CSR or anything else for that matter, or even marketing, you need to have those ideas. You need to be able to think creatively. The way PR and CSR is done, I've seen a lot of those ideas if I presented, even as an advertising professional, not all of them, but many of them, they would still work on certain briefs. Like, for example, I remember one of our CSR professors mentioning this one brand which dealt with logistics and supermarket chains. This was abroad. And basically, what they did as one of their CSR activities was changing the routes which their buses took and things like that. And saying that it was a CSR activity because they were reducing the use of fossil fuels for petrol. They were reducing noise and air pollution because their routes were now shorter and things like that. But actually, it was translating back into profits for the company because they were spending less on fuel. They were spending on fewer buses and trucks and things like that for the transportation and things like that. Now, this is a very basic example. Of course, it goes into a lot more detail when you actually work on the project. But yes, things are very interdisciplinary. I realized that, of course, before during my undergrad itself. But yeah.
Yeah, I think that always
Also,
happens.
and I also think another thing that XIC helped me do was dealing with crunched deadlines. XIC as a course when I was there had no exams as such. It was all only projects. Both of
Okay.
them group assignments. That's why you learn how to work in a team. You learn how to work with different kinds of people. You learn how to see the way different people think. You learn to realize that in a group, everyone has their skills and their weaknesses. And maybe you also learn to deal with a lot of stress and a lot of work, which really helps when you're in an agency setup. I mean, I've worked 18 and 22 hours at a go also. You have to do that at times. And you have to find a way to still be able to think and work. I'm not saying that that's the case every single day. You need to learn that. And another very important thing that we did during the XIC course was this thing called the outreach. Because XIC has many courses, not just the advertising course. They have the PR course, they have journalism, they have film and television, but their whole thing is having responsible media professionals. Like we do see a couple of ads where things are said that are wrong,
Yeah.
things that were wrong were not wrong many years ago, but in today's day and age they wouldn't be okay. Some things are plain controversial, but it's responsible to be a good media professional. I mean, important to be a responsible media professional, sorry. And I remember when we did this outreach, we were taken to this place called Manor. It's in Palghar, and it was an eye opener. The way people not very far away from Bombay are living. And the way, for me, the biggest eye opener was that despite that, they're still happy. It was very refreshing. It was very different from the other stuff we were doing, thinking about profits and this translates into this much more money and marketing spends help with this much revenue and we want return on investment and things like that, which is important, but it's also important to see the other side of things. I remember one of the schools that we visited, um, the classroom was right next to a urinal. It stank. I couldn't bear to be in there for a few minutes, but those kids were there, very happy, very enthusiastic, really waiting to learn. Even if we did a small little fun activity with them, they were extremely happy. They weren't they weren't stressed like kids are in our urban schools wanting to get the perfect percentage and things like that. They were just happy doing their thing.
Yeah, I think that sounds like such amazing experiences that you've
Yeah.
also had.
It was a
Wow.
24-hour trip because for certain reasons we couldn't do it for the entire 3 days in which it's usually done. But it was really, really an eye opener and really
Eye
a refreshing
opener.
experience.
That's lovely. That's lovely to hear. Can you tell us like what are the tools and softwares that you use as a copywriter like on a daily basis as well?
I largely use Microsoft Word, but in smaller agencies, you may be expected to know the basics of designing and things like that. Like XIC also taught us Illustrator, InDesign, and Photoshop. That still helped because for things like doing a copy check, which is something that seems very banal, but it's very important. It helps because you can't do it the same way you do it on a Word document. Yeah, I'll just click here, click there. No, there are tools to be used even for things like that. Therefore, I'm not an expert at these softwares, but I know enough to be able to make those small changes and things like that on a Photoshop layout and things like that. And yeah, sometimes things like editing softwares like Premiere Pro and things like that, because a lot of agencies like to do their work in house. Sometimes copywriters also like to present their ideas not just as a PPT or verbally, they would like to present it as a small little audio visual thing and things like that. And it does help when you can create the video and stuff like that and edit it yourself. That does help.
Lovely. I think we can go to a couple of Menti questions because I already see a lot coming in. So Mentis, you can post in your question in the Q&A box because we will move into those questions. Thank you, Shibumi, for answering all the other questions we had so far. I think it gave students a little bit more clearer idea into moving into the field. So I think those follow-up questions have come up in the Q&A box. So I can see a lot of questions related to internships. How do we get internships, how to get an internship at Ogilvy, and what exactly do they look for when you're applying for a content writer or a copywriter position as an intern?
To my knowledge, Ogilvy doesn't really have any content writer positions, to my knowledge. It's basically for copywriters and things like that. I would say LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great place in terms of these things. Contact the human resources person and things like that. For an Ogilvy internship, like for my last one at least, I was asked to show a portfolio. Like, even if it's not the best one out there, you still need to have a portfolio. things like that. You have to give in your resume and your portfolio, even if you want to be an intern. I would also say one more thing: even if the internship isn't paying you, take it. Most internships don't pay, but then payback is in terms of the learning you receive, which is very rewarding. And of course, Ogilvy is very fair. They don't pay their interns, but the intern is never kept behind longer than 5:30 or 6 o'clock. You're allowed to leave on time every single day, which is not something you always get in advertising. Therefore, you have enough time to do your own stuff also, and plus you have those 8 hours that you're working where you can learn also.
Makes sense. So Megha's asking, what were the difficulties that you faced when you were starting your career as a copywriter?
Oh, many. Yeah, initially, of course, dealing with the difficult work hours, that was something, but it wasn't as bad for me because I had my whole experience in XIC where I sometimes left college very late. I reached my house at 10 o'clock in the night or even later at times and things like that. But I'll mention this because this is a struggle that many people do face.
Yeah.
Um, Also, what is considered as good writing may not entirely be fitting from the perspective of advertising. It takes time to realize how to explain your idea well and things like that, how to present well, how your idea can't just be half baked. That was something. Um, Another thing I would say would be okay, I won't put too fine a point on it, but when you're writing in one language for days on end, and then suddenly a brief comes where you need to write in another, making that switch is sometimes not as easy. You need to kind of be able to sit and focus and not be in a hurry to do things fast.
Right,
Pace
definitely.
yourself.
So Niharika is also asking, which internships would you recommend in your best list, like top 5 internships you want a student to come across? So I think like in the copywriting sector.
Top five agencies, I'd say, or top five
Yeah,
internships as in
I
different
think top
places.
5 agencies.
I won't really give you any names of top five agencies. I went to the same place for many of my internships, but because the brands I was working on were that varied and different, it was still very worthwhile. I would also say don't limit yourself, do other things also because advertising can be very versatile. Even if I've worked in another field, I'll bring more to the table. Everyone in advertising asks me about my experiences working and studying in the field of psychology because at the end of the day, that's what advertising is. You're understanding human behavior, you're selling to people, not machines. You have to understand how they think, how they look at things, things of that kind, for which psychology helped me. I remember we were working on something for a supermarket chain, and there was somebody who had previously worked in the vegetable supply chain. And that's why he managed to bring things from there to the table and explain things that the rest of us didn't know. Therefore, I would say don't just limit yourself. Even if you choose to do advertising, you will bring a lot more to the table if you've done different things. And again, the main thing is having different experiences.
Right. I think that was Abhijit's question also. Did psychology help you in, copywriting and advertising? I think you actually, felt that change. You could
Yeah.
understand a lot about it. Wow, I did not think about that. But lovely. Okay, coming to the marketing question. So I can see Deepak is asking, what's the most important thing we should take care during the marketing process?
The marketing process is very different. I mean, the client deals with that largely.
Okay.
They'll
Uh,
have a lot of other concerns based on their marketing objective. If their marketing objective is driving sales, I think that'll be the most important thing, what will impact sales. If it's driving traffic to a website, then think of things that will make the website more appealing and attractive. Think of the fact that the integrated marketing communication is stuff that's driving people to the website and things like that.
Makes sense. Abhijit is asking, what is a process framework behind understanding a brand's requirements and understand the need?
That you will be told very much at the beginning by your client servicing team when they come to brief you. This is what the client wants. You'll be told that very clearly. And of course, another thing that really helps is watching the earlier communication that's gone out, whether it's a post, whether it's an email, or you may or may not have access to, whether it's a commercial. If they want to change, of course, then that may or may not help you. But you will be told very clearly by the account management or the planning team what the objectives are, what's expected, and things like that. But you can't only rely on that. You need to be able to think for yourself also. Like when we're
Right.
asked to think of campaign lines and things like that, they're not going to spoon feed you and tell you, tell them this. They'll say,
Yeah.
tell them one thing, but the way you articulate it and put it across is very important and very different.
Definitely. And do you also have to do like a lot of research on what are the previous campaigns that have been run and a little bit about the background of the company, or does the client, like, does the team within give you all this information?
Sometimes the team gives it to you, sometimes you do your own. Like sometimes I feel if I'm not able to stumble on something with my own personal research, looking up things about certain festivals and stuff like that, I like to talk to people who celebrate because we live in India. There are 100 different festivals, and when it comes to advertising, it's very important to know about all these things, to have your ads go out on those days and things like that. Like, for example, I worked for a while on a brand called Vival, and for them, the Eastern market is very important. As a result of which, around Durga Puja, it's of course very important for them to put out things and stuff like that. So
Okay.
that was something being born and brought up in Bombay. I'm not a Bengali. I don't really know the intricacies of it. That's why for me, it really helped to talk to different people about what they like about the festival, what they don't like about it, what they find most enjoyable, how things happen, things like that. Because I was actually very interested to find out that Durga Puja happens all over the country and even abroad in a big way. Of course, it doesn't happen the same way it happens in Kolkata everywhere, but it's still a very important thing, even for a Bengali living in Bombay or elsewhere.
Yeah. Okay, so Parth and Shweta both asking, I think they both have faced writer's block and they want to know how do you overcome writer's block? And combining another question with that, Megha is also asking what are the important things to keep in mind while writing?
I'll go to the writer's block one first. Basically, this was something very helpful I learned when I was in XIC. In XIC, we have this optional subject, and I chose to do creative writing. The other options are radio programming and photography. And our teacher there helped us with this very helpful thing. She said, just sit and write anything, even if it makes no sense whatsoever. Just write. Even if it's the most, even if it's nonsensical, even if it's almost gibberish, even if it's grammatically wrong, don't bother about grammar. And in fact, just sit and write. And it was almost like magic, but after writing a couple of lines itself, the writer's block would be gone. I'd be able to think better. I'd be able to write things like that. So that really helps. Um, but of course, once you're in advertising and you're in the habit of writing and things like that, it's not the same as writer's block. If I wanted to write a personal piece, it's very different. I mean, I can be a lot more focused. I know, okay, this is what's expected of me. These are the things I can do to find out more. Then with that, I can work and come up with something and write things like that. What was the second part again? They were
Uh,
saying
what are the important things to keep in mind while writing?
important things to keep in mind while writing is have a good flow to your thoughts. Don't go back and forth too much. Because even in advertising, where brevity is emphasized upon a lot, sometimes you may need to write things that are slightly longer than just your one liners and taglines and headlines. I sometimes, like, I had to work once on a coffee table book, which obviously isn't going to just be one line everywhere and all like one headline like it is for other things I work on and things like that. That's why the flow to your thoughts matters. It should be systematic and things like that. It doesn't seem like the most creative thing, but it's necessary. Again, like I said earlier, don't say what everyone else has been saying. Have thought to what you're writing. Don't make it too esoteric and difficult to understand. You can't have words that nobody can get. Think of things that are relatable and understandable. Think of society as you see it. Advertising often holds up a mirror to society because unless you do that, how are you going to change people's thoughts and the way they think? All advertising isn't only about sales. Sometimes some things are about public awareness and services and things like that. I would say do that. Read. That'll really help. Read different kinds of books, explore different kinds of writing styles before you find your own. And just keep writing. Even if it's just the posts you put up, write. Put your thoughts out there. See how people are responding. It helps. Have thoughts of your own also. I remember one of our marketing professors said this. When you're in advertising, even as a professional, think of things as a consumer first. Have an opinion on things. It's important. Don't say it to the wrong people. People may get offended, but have that opinion. Have a way of thinking, because people are going to have an opinion on the work you put out. You also need to have an opinion. Unless you have an opinion, you won't be able to think of how to make your work better.
Makes sense. Somebody's asking, can you recommend any good books, resources, or probably courses that someone who wants to understand copywriting can refer to?
I would say there was this thing called the copybook that has some lovely things. You may not understand all of it when you're not already an advertising professional, because it has stuff from all over the world. Some things are very unknown to us. For me, one of the biggest learnings from my first internship was knowing about the world of international advertising and the things that are being done. I didn't know that this whole world of international advertising exists. Another thing which a lot of people in an agency setup also will ask you to do is watch award-winning ideas and work. The Cannes Awards, the One Show Awards, things like that. A lot of it will be available online. Even if there are entries and things like that, watch that. That helps you understand advertising. How you can do good, but at the same time do things that are relevant to your brand. That helps. Like a recent ad that was put out by a hand washing brand where they said that use our competitors' products, but wash your hands. Use any of these, but wash your hands. Things like that. Where you are showing magnanimity by mentioning another brand name, but you're still staying on track, having clean hands and things like that, which is what your brand wants to talk about. I'd say that helps. Some people feel that it helps to look at other people's portfolios and things like that, but I wouldn't entirely recommend that, because you may end up plagiarizing without even realizing it and all, and that doesn't want any good. That would help. Find people who you consider mentors and run your work by them. They can give you some great feedback on bettering your skills. Sometimes it may just be minor tweaks here and there, but even that can work towards making your idea better and taking it to the next level. Things like that. I would also suggest this book, Hegarty on Advertising. That would help. And just read fiction also. That gives you more ideas. Go out, have experiences, do things.
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. I think everyone's probably already noted it down and probably going to search the internet for it. Somebody's asking, should an aspiring copywriter fear competition? So I think in terms of the kind of other copywriters that are there, or I think in terms of like brands as well, both aspects.
I don't really think other brands would be your competition as such, because it's what you do for your brand that really matters. In terms of fearing competition, okay, very honestly, that's just going to stress you out and do you no good. I think the nicer thing to be would be observed from other people, not just other copywriters, but other people in the agency. There's lots people will have to teach you. I sometimes talk to people from the planning team or the servicing team, because they have a lot of knowledge about the business, the intricacies of certain terminologies used. In the field of PR, advertising, and all, people tend to have a lot of terms or jargon, as some may want to call it, and stuff which they use. Don't be ashamed to ask if you don't know the meaning of something. Ask. It's fine. People will be understanding by and large. Remember it later on in the future. See what you can pick up and learn from other people. Because sometimes I may not just have to work with my art partner, I may have to work with another copywriter. Now, if I'm only going to think of competing against the other copywriter, it's not going to give us anything at all. Think of ways to complement each other. Think of the things you like in somebody else's work and how you can imbibe that in your own work ethic and things like that. I've learned a hell of a lot from people who weren't necessarily my bosses, but they were senior to me in the team and things like that. Like, I remember one of the people in my team taught me that it's important to have buckets of thought. And when you organize all your ideas within them and you present, then the idea sounds a lot more complete and a lot better.
Makes sense.
Try to give your idea also a little name. The way an article in a newspaper has an interesting headline, try to give your idea a name like that. That ends up making it seem a lot more complete.
Lovely. So Biji's asking, do you think artificial intelligence will impact advertising in the future? What digital competence is required for those going on into advertisement in the future?
I won't say in the future, I'll say it's already happening. There are brands where this was pre-COVID, but now when you come to think of it, I think it would help a lot more now as well, where the the stores didn't have proper changing rooms. Therefore, you could choose a dress and see how it would look on you via certain AI softwares and things like that. It would definitely help. Even your something as basic as the filters we use. But it's important to have those ideas a little in advance, because a little planning and legal work from the client's end and Facebook or Instagram would be required. Therefore, it's important to be very clear about what you want in that sense. And in terms of softwares, I think that's more something that an art director would deal with, because in terms of look and things like that, those people have been to design school. They have spent 3 to 5 years knowing how to use color, how to use shapes, how to use fonts and things like that. Another very valuable piece of advice I got was from, again, in XIC, was don't try to be a designer. Yes, you will need to know certain things about visual aspects. Yes, I also do need to give visual ideas, but don't take away from what they're doing. They've spent years studying that, which we haven't. There are intricacies to those roles also, which we don't understand. There are people who do study design and then end up becoming copywriters. That's a different thing. But work in tandem with your art partner. That really helps. It really helps the work come out in a better way. At the
It
end
gives
of the
you a
day,
lot
they're
of,
not going
I
to
think,
just see lines.
experience also. Like you tend to understand and sharing ideas. That's amazing. So they also want to know, does copywriting pay well? Could you shed light on that?
Initially, it's not going to pay you the amount an MBA kind of job is going to pay you initially. Also, different agencies have different pay scales. It also depends on your output and work during the year. I can't not perform and ask for a great increment and things like that. Initially, it's not the most well-paying job. Like I can't move out of my home right now and just start living by myself, given the kind of life I'm used to. But it does with time end up paying fairly well. I don't ask people their salaries specifically, but you do tend to find out in one way or another with a couple of years, and when you reach a certain senior level, it does end up paying you fairly well. Again, it's
That's great.
subjective what well paying and badly paying is and things like that.
And at most, like, waking up every morning to a job that you love. Like, I mean, I think it goes a long way in learning and experiences as well. We'll look at
Exactly.
the last, I think, two questions before we wrap up. Somebody wants to know any comments on ethical dilemmas in advertising.
Ethical dilemmas in advertising. Again, it'll also depend to a large extent on what your brand is willing to say and not willing to say. Like there are sanitary pad brands even in India now which will show red blood. Many others will still not. We don't bleed blue. I'll put it out
Yeah.
there. But some brands will not let you show something else. Um, Also, a lot of things may not be ethically wrong, but they go against the brand's standards, what the brand stands for, and things like that. You will not be allowed to do and things like that. You will, as a junior writer, be stopped if something is unethical. Of course, don't say things that are blatantly chauvinistic and wrong and things like that. Know that much. But you can't really lie in advertising. You can't. You'll have suits filed against you and things like that. Advertising, a lovely way of putting it that I've heard is advertising is the truth well told. You're not lying, but you're putting the truth across in a way that it's not bitter and harsh and things like that. Even the truth sounds nice.
Yeah. So Palak is also asking, how does making an ad actually work? Like, what does the art director and a copywriter do hand in hand?
Can Palak give me clarity on what kind of ads she's talking about? I can give her a clearer answer then.
Maybe you can take up any case in your situation when you have worked with the art director.
It always helps to discuss any kind of idea with your art partner because it's another person who's also in the same field. Therefore, I may bring in my verbal, written aspect, he'll bring in the visual aspect, what will look nicer, and things like that. But it also works in the other way. Like I've been asked to work on post ideas by myself, where I have to come up with what the visual will be, what the line will be, and things like that. Then, of course, creating that because that needs certain softwares like Photoshop, Illustrator, things like that, the art director will come in and do. But Of course, it starts with your servicing and your planning team. Unless it's an idea I've come up with proactively and I suggest it to my boss or somebody, then it will be taken forward from there. Then there is your senior giving you the idea. Then as a team, we sit together, we discuss all our ideas, we pick out the best ones. Then it goes on to many other levels. Our boss's boss, his or her boss, the clients, in the client's boss, the client's boss's boss, things like that happen. It may come back if they feel it's not working, if they feel that something needs to be made better. It happens again and again. Things are not always approved in the first go. It's not going to be that I'll be told, okay, we need an ad to be put out, and our team will decide on one ad, and that's what gets made. Especially for things like a television commercial for which the client has to spend more money. Um, we'll think of many ads collectively. Then the best few will go for research, where it will be narrated to people and stuff. We'll see what their reactions are like. Basis that which mostly does happen, we are asked to think of a bunch of ads again. The brief is changed, what the client chooses to say is changed, things like that. Sometimes it does get approved in the first go, but that doesn't always happen. You really need to be patient. I'll say that is another very big essential requirement for someone in advertising. You
Okay.
can't take your work too seriously and be too personal about it and say and feel offended. You still need to get up the next day, even if your work's been rejected, and come up with a fresh set of ideas.
Makes sense. So coming to the last question, I can see both Parth and someone else was also asking. Yeah, so he's asking, what is your best experience till date? Experience as in which one of your work do you think is the best? And somebody else was asking, is there somebody that inspired you? Mega is asking, is there anyone who has inspired you from their work?
Many people have inspired me, basically. Even if it's for something in term as small as the way they present their ideas, there are many people who have inspired me. There are people who have inspired me in things that are just workplace related things, like how to be the only woman in a team full of men and still hold your own. I didn't realize it was a difficult thing until I interacted with people from more diverse backgrounds, where I realized that some people can be very overtly chauvinistic and shouting you down and stuff. This is more for me as a woman, but I realized there are still ways to hold your own. I was inspired by that in retrospect. I was inspired by a senior in my team who taught me how to think, as I mentioned, in buckets of ideas and present your ideas in a certain way. Because an idea, if badly presented, your own boss won't understand. He or she will say this doesn't work, not want to do it, and things like that. If I present it properly, then even if there's something wrong with it, that can be worked around, and things like that. Things would Unless you're clear, things will just get lost in translation. That's an important thing. You need to explain your idea. You need to show how the idea can be done on a larger scale. It can't be just my one post or my one film or things like that. I need to do many more things around it. It has to be integrated in its approach. I can't say one thing in the post and one thing in a film and stuff like that. Everything in the campaign has to follow that one campaign thought. If Cadbury is saying kuch acha ho jaye, kuch meetha ho jaye, that thought has to come across in all my work for that campaign and things like that, for
Makes
instance.
sense. Makes sense.
Sorry, can you repeat the previous part of the question? I think
Yeah,
he
so they
asked
were
something
asking,
else.
what was your best experience, like the kind of work that you've done, what was something that inspired you, and what was your best experience?
My best experience was when I was an intern and we were working on something and they chose this one little line as it was without any changes to put out as a social media post. That was one of my best experiences because I hadn't even graduated. I was still a teenager. I was an intern and they were using my work as is. That was a big high. A lot of writers will tell you this, that seeing their name in print and their work going out there, whether it's in print or whether it's digitally, it's a different kind of high altogether.
Lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that, Shibumi. I think it was a very, very informative session and a lot of interesting questions came up as well. Thank you so much for answering them. Before we wrap up, do you have a couple of last words for the mentees who are interested in moving into the copywriting space?
Uh, you'll meet a lot of cynical people who tell you don't join advertising and things like that. I'm not saying disregard what they say, but I'm saying remember why you wanted to be a copywriter first. And if that still holds true for you, despite all the internships and everything, I'll say go ahead with it. It's not always going to be easy. Things are not going to happen in the first go. And don't beat yourself up about it. It's okay. It's fine if you go through all your ideas being rejected. Perform twice as well on the next three. Don't feel bogged down by the fact that something doesn't work out. Writing isn't just going to happen. And it doesn't really happen except in a very rare case that you just say it and you're sitting outside by the stream and an idea just comes into your head. That's a very romanticized notion. Give yourself time. I mean, don't just jump into one thing.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Shubhumi. It's a very, very interesting session. I think I myself have learned so much in the different space as well. Thank you so much for keeping this so interesting and informative at the same time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Hopefully, you can come on board for a lot of other webinars. I'm sure the mentees have, gotten a lot of advice and a clearer idea about the field as well. So, wish you all the very best, Shubhumi, and hopefully we'll see for a lot of more webinars.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, mentees. Thank you for attending the session. Wish you all the very best as well. Take care. Good night.